Hello friends, we have started discussing natural selection. We discussed natural selection in detail. Then we also discuss about the evidences or role of natural selection. You can refer my videos. The link is given in the description box. Today, we are going to discuss about modes or types of natural selection. We already know that natural selection is differential survival and differential reproduction. Differential survival means only the well-adapted individuals to the particular environment survive. Differential reproduction takes place of those adaptations that are genetically controlled and heritable, because these only can pass from generation to generation. In other words, natural selection is differential reproduction of alleles which help the survival of next generation. It produces evolutionary change because it acts on the variability within a population that is heritable. Now the modes of natural selection. Let us see them one by one. First is directional selection. Directional selection is change within a population in one direction in response to the change in the environment in a particular direction. Individuals that change in response to environmental change and become most adapted are favored. It means that individual which changes in response to environmental change and become adapted to that environment are favored or are selected, or these survive. So it is progressive selection. It occurs during or after the environmental change. Salient features: occurs due to change in environment in the particular direction. Non-average or specialized phenotypes are favored and normal or average individuals are eliminated. It alters the mean value of the trait. If we represent it with the graph, this shows a bell-shaped curve. Here before the selection, the graph is like this, and after the selection, it has shifted towards this direction. So individual towards one end, these are eliminated and these are added towards the other end. So the graph has shifted from here to here. Hence the mean value has also shifted from here to here. So we can say that it alters the mean value of the trait and the population shifts in one direction. Favors the accumulation of mutations that increases fitness in the changing environment. Because the environment is changing and hence the population or the individual should also change. So it favors the accumulation of the mutation that increases their fitness in the changing environment. That means it results in the change in the population in order to get adapted to the changing environment. Normal or average individuals are eliminated because individuals that are extremes are favored. It brings about progressive evolution. We have already seen that it shows the shift in the population. Example, industrial melanism. Earlier, before the selection, in the population there was more frequency of light colored moth. With the industrial revolution, the population shifted and now there is more frequency of dark colored moth in the population. Second is resistance of insects to DDT. Initially in the population they were mostly DDT sensitive insects. With the continuous use of DDT for few generations, the populations shifted to DDT resistant. Now there are more frequency of insects that are DDT resistant in the population. Now second is stabilizing selection. It is also known as normal selection or centripetal selection. It occurs when there is absence of large-scale environmental changes for long period, or in other words, it takes place in the unchanging environment or the environment which is almost constant. Environment is constant, so mutations are eliminated. Since the environment is constant, so genetic variation is not required, so mutations are also eliminated. keeps a population genetically constant. Hence, in the absence of the mutation, it keeps the population genetically constant. Eliminates extreme variance. Also, average or normal phenotypes are favored. So, the normal phenotypes are favored and extreme phenotypes are eliminated. Frequency distribution appears exactly as earlier before selection. So, the distribution of frequency appears same before and after selection. Now, the salient features: operates in unchanging environment. It takes place in the environment which is almost constant. Introduce homozygosity in the population. Since the environment is almost constant and hence homozygosity in the population is introduced. Average individuals are favored. So, it favors the average individuals and extreme phenotypes or individuals are eliminated. Checks accumulation of mutations. Since environment is unchanging, so accumulation of mutation is also checked or it is eliminated. Tends to arrest variance and evolutionary change. Because the environment is constant and average individuals are favored, hence it tends to arrest variance or genetic variation and also arrest evolutionary change. It is rare because the environment keeps on changing, as it is not possible that the environment remains constant or it doesn't change, and hence this type of the stabilizing selection is also rare. If we see this graph, this is bell shaped and it is before stabilizing selection. These are extreme phenotypes and this is the intermediate phenotype. These are eliminated and the intermediate phenotype is favored. So, after selection we get this type of the graph. Third is disruptive or diversifying selection. Extreme phenotypes are favored and intermediate ones are not favored. So, these extreme phenotypes have advantage over the intermediate ones. Homogeneous population is broken into several adaptive forms. Phenotype of populations are pushed from its mean value. It tends to increase the amount of variance within the populations because now the population is no more homogeneous. It gives rise to a bi or tri-model distribution in adults instead of unimodal as earlier. It is less common than the directional and stabilizing selection. Salient features: breaks homologous population into several different adaptive forms. Extreme phenotypes have highest fitness. Intermediate phenotypes or mean value have the lowest fitness, that is, are relatively disadvantageous. If we see this graph, this is before. The shaded region shows the intermediate phenotype or the mean value, and these as the extreme phenotypes. So, these extreme phenotypes are favored and intermediate ones are not favored, and hence the population breaks into two adaptive forms. So, instead of unimodal, it is now bimodal. So, now let us compare the three types of the selection. This is the population before selection. Frequency is in y-axis and phenotype is in x-axis. This is the mean. In the directional selection, before the selection, the population is like this, which is shown by dotted lines, and this is after the selection. So, it moves in one direction due to the change in the environment in one direction. Individuals are eliminated from the one end and these are added towards the other end. Second is the stabilizing selection. The dotted lines show the graph before the selection and this is the graph after the selection. It takes place in the unchanging environment. Here the extreme phenotypes are eliminated and intermediate ones are favored. This is the disruptive selection, the dotted lines before the selection, and this is after the selection. Extreme phenotypes are favored and intermediate phenotypes are not favored, and hence the population, which is homogeneous earlier, breaks into two adaptive forms. So this is all for today's video. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share it and subscribe my channel. Thank you.